The lie of love. They didn't fall for you. They fell for what you made them feel. Not your face, not your voice, not your words, just the invisible echo that hit something inside them and made it soften. You thought they saw you, but they were only seeing their own need. Reflected back, that's not love, that's hunger. And it's why they left. Not because you weren't enough, but because the feeling faded. Because the mirror cracked. Because you stopped performing. Because you started becoming real. They didn't want real. They wanted recognition. They wanted comfort. They wanted a space to feel significant. And you just happened to be the place it happened in. That's the truth no one tells you. People don't fall in love with you. They fall in love with how they feel around you. And when that version of you starts to change, they start to pull away. Because they weren't in love with you, they were in love with the reflection. And the moment it shifts, so does their attention. So if they left, let them. You weren't what they were holding, you were just what they were projecting onto. Now that it's gone, you get to come back. Not the version that was chasing love, but the version that doesn't have to prove anything. Stay here. Here. This is where you begin. The first reason, make them feel seen. People don't fall for you because you're smart or funny or good with words. They fall because something in you makes them feel seen. That's it. Not validated, not flattered, seen. In a world that looks at faces but rarely looks through them, you became a mirror that didn't distort. You noticed what they buried, you remembered what they forgot, you made the invisible feel visible. And for a second, they felt real again. Not because of who they were, but because of who you became in front of them. Still, present, listening without fixing, watching without judgment. You weren't trying to impress, you were just there, fully. And that presence was louder than any compliment. People chase intensity, but they stay for stillness, for the one who makes them feel like the storm can finally sit down. You didn't say much, but your quiet said everything. You didn't ask for their trust, but your silence earned it. That's why they came closer. Not because you shined, but because you made them shine. Not because you showed off, but because you saw them. In ways they didn't know, they wanted to be seen. And when that reflection disappears, they'll look for it everywhere else. But they won't find it, because what they miss was never them. It was what you awakened in them by simply being unmistakably present. The second reason, be undeniably authentic. They fall not for the loudest one in the room, but for the one who doesn't need to speak to be felt. Not for perfection, but for presence. Because in a world addicted to performance, authenticity becomes magnetic. You don't need to be impressive, you need to be real. People feel it. They might not say it, but they sense it. When your laugh isn't rehearsed, when your silence isn't forced, when your words don't chase approval, they land different. Because nothing is more attractive than someone who has nothing to prove. You didn't sell a version, you didn't market a mask, you just stood there, unchanged by their gaze, untroubled by their approval, unshaken by their absence. That's the kind of energy they remember in empty rooms. Not the one who begged to be seen, but the one who didn't need to be. You weren't trying to win them. You were busy staying yourself. And that's rare. That's what they'll crave, after the noise wears off, after the games stop working. After the masks start cracking, you will still be standing, quiet, clear, whole. And maybe by then, they'll realize the one who doesn't chase was never behind. The one who didn't speak was never silent. The one who didn't change was always enough. The mask that made them stay. You thought they stayed because they saw you, but they stayed for the version of you built to be seen. The one that smiled on cue, answered fast, said the right things, softened your edges just enough to feel safe, but it wasn't you. It was a performance, and now you're tired, because holding that version costs more than you thought. Here's what no one says. People don't fall for what's true, they fall for what's convincing. And most of us We've been convincing. Since the day we were first ignored, we built a self. They would choose. We shaped a voice they would listen to. We trimmed the parts they wouldn't understand. And now when we're alone, we wonder why no one really knows us. It's because we never let them. They were in love with the echo, not the source, the shape, not the substance, the glow, not the fire. And maybe now you see it. You don't have to wear that anymore. You don't need to shrink. You don't need to edit. You don't need to stay digestible. The right ones don't need performance. They're not pulled to your projection. They're pulled to your peace, to what doesn't move when it's watched, to what doesn't break when it's misunderstood, to what stays even when it's not liked. So drop the version that worked and return to the one that never needed to. The silent repulsion. You didn't say too much. You didn't ask for too much. You didn't do anything wrong. But something changed. They pulled back, and you're left wondering, why? Here's the truth. It's not always what you said. It's what you emitted. Because energy speaks louder than your voice. And when your energy is need, they feel it. Not the words, the weight. When your presence says, please stay, please choose me. Even if you never say it, they hear it. It clings, it sticks, it chokes the space between you, and it's not attractive. It's heavy. People aren't repelled by you. They're repelled by what feels like obligation. Even love can feel like a trap if it comes wrapped in silent begging. And the worst part? You didn't mean to. You were just showing up from a place of hunger. Hunger to be seen, hunger to be kept, hunger to feel safe. But hunger doesn't pull people in. It pushes them away. Not with volume, but with vibration. That's why they ghost. That's why they drift. That's why they say it's not you, it's me. But it was you. Not your soul, but your signal. You forgot your own gravity. You started orbiting them. And nothing loses its pull faster than what forgets its own mass. So now you know. You don't need to push, you don't need to pull, you just need to return to center. Because silence doesn't repel, neediness does. And when you stop needing, you become untouchable. The return to self. You don't need to win them back. You need to win you back. Because the version that bent, shrank, chased, waited, that wasn't you. That was survival. And survival gets old, fast. What you really wanted wasn't their presence, it was your own. You missed yourself more than you ever missed them. Because deep down you knew that the strongest kind of love doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't prove. It stands, still, anchored. You don't need to say, I'm enough. You just need to stop acting like you aren't. Start walking like you remember what you carry. Start speaking like your voice isn't up for vote. Start letting them go, not as punishment, but as proof that your peace has a price. And not everyone can afford it. This is where the story ends. Not with revenge, not with regret, but with a return to the one who doesn't need to be loved, to feel whole. To the one who doesn't fear being alone, to feel safe. To the one who walks without needing to be followed. You're not a memory, you're not an echo, you are here, alive, undeniable, and finally, free. You don't need to be loved, you need to be real. They loved the version that smiled, that bent, that stayed, but that version was exhausted. And now, it's gone. What's left isn't bitter, isn't broken, it's just done. Done proving, done performing, done shrinking to fit someone else's comfort. You don't need to be loved to be enough. You don't need to be chosen to have worth. You don't need to be understood to walk away with clarity. All you need is to come back to the version that never asked for anything but truth. And from this place, you're not waiting, you're not watching, you're not wondering, you're just living. Unedited, unapologetic. Not everyone will love you, but the ones who do will finally see the real you. And that is the only kind of love that was ever worth keeping.